So welcome everyone, happy days are here again. I've got a brand new review for you today for the 8BitDo SN30 Pro Plus Bluetooth Gamepad. Some of you might be saying, well, you're a bit late to the party because this bad boy's been out for a while. Yeah, I knows that. But me, I'm here to give the honest man's review, the trusted review, the one you don't have to take with a pinch of salt. I give it you like it is. Truth be told, I've been looking at this controller for quite a while. I know I've been recommending it to my friend, and I know he's probably going to be watching this video and thinking, ugh, you bought one but you told me to buy one. You know what I'm like, I sees it, I got to have it. And by got to have it, I mean I showed it to my better half and she's so sick of me talking about it, and I think she thought she'd treat me and bought one. So I'm very, very grateful to her. So I'm going to dedicate this review especially to her. She knows who she is. So a brief bit of background on the controller. So this is a controller from 8BitDo, who are a fantastic third-party manufacturer for wireless devices, adapters, controllers. They are really fantastic. If you've got a very specific need for your controller, I highly recommend you check out their website. The SN30 Pro Plus is an upgraded version of the SN30 Pro. What's the big difference between the two of them? Well, the most obvious one is the look. This one here looks a bit more like a Switch Pro controller with the handles and the grips on the side, whereas the normal Pro version looks more like a Super Nintendo controller. So really, you know, if you're trying to decide between the two, you've got to ask yourselves, do you like that retro Super Nintendo controller? You know, some people say that's the greatest shaped controller in the world. Me personally, I like the handle grip, so this one is the one that stood out to me. The controller comes in three beautiful colours. We got ourselves, of course, this one here, which is the black one, which reminds us very much of the Switch Pro controller. It also comes in grey, but two variants of the grey. One for the European released colours of the Super Nintendo, so with the different coloured buttons, and of course I think it's the American and the Japanese one, which has the different shades of purples on the buttons. So really there is a colour for everybody's taste. It's my understanding that this controller was designed specifically for the Switch in mind, so it's got full compatibility and functionality with the Switch, but it also works with Windows, Android, Mac OS and Steam, and basically I think it works with any Bluetooth, compatible device. I am hoping and praying with this little bad boy, it should allow me to use this controller on the PS4 and the Xbox One, but we shall see. I probably might do a separate video for this, or I might chip it in at the end. You never know. A bit of bonus content for you. What makes this controller special? Well, it's all the added functionality it's got. So it's got all the things you'd expect. It's got pressure-sensitive trigger buttons, which is something that the Nintendo Switch Pro controller doesn't actually have. It's got obviously the face buttons. It's got itself a cheeky turbo button. Oh, we know we like a bit of turbo, especially when it comes to Animal Crossing. It's got mappable buttons using the software you can download on Windows and OS. So you can remap the buttons however you like. You can adjust the sensitivity of the trigger buttons as you like. The dead zones of the analog sticks to your heart's content. It's obviously got vibration function, so it's got that rumble function that I know is ever so important. It's not HD rumble, so it's not quite the same as the Switch controllers, but it does have rumble, but you can adjust the sensitivity and the viciousness of it in that software. I also know one of the big draws for this one is you can program macros. Right, what are macros? I think some of you might be asking, maybe the one or two of you that don't know. This means you can set a sequence of programmable buttons to a macro. So you press a button, so instead of having to do your Hadouken and rolling this and pressing A, you can program that, and you can say, I'm going to use, Y is instead going to be, when I press Y, it's going to roll this, it's going to press that, so it does it all in one go. So effectively you can cheat at Street Fighter if you really want to do that. Another thing that sets itself apart from other Bluetooth controllers is this does have an inbuilt but removable and replaceable battery. It's a USB-C cable, I believe, as well to charge it. Oh, you know how I love the USB-C. But I do think it's a nice addition that you've got a replaceable battery. So it's not like the other controllers where you can't replace the battery, DualShock 4. So when the battery goes, you have to chuck it in the bin. You can just replace it with something else. Also with this, I'm aware that you can take the back compartment off, you can take the battery out, so the battery's dead. You can't find a plug nowhere around. Don't worry, you can bang in those AA batteries, seal it back up, and you can keep on gaming. They really have thought of everything. The one feature it doesn't have is Amiibo support. That doesn't surprise me one bit, because I expect to get the license for Amiibo support from Nintendo. You're going to have to put out some serious wonga, and it's such a specific niche need, to be honest. If I ever wanted to use an amiibo, you know, I'd probably just use a Joy-Con. You know, it's not a big loss for me. The other and final feature that I want to just remind everybody that this bad boy has is gyro controls. Now, some people love it, some people hate it. You know, I'm a bit on the fence with it, but it's nice to know that it's got it. So after all that talking, it's time for your main event. It's time for the unboxing. Let's get ready to go. Checking out the front of the box, we got all the details that I mentioned previously at the front. Bluetooth gamepad, USB cable, battery pack. Looks a beautiful, beautiful controller. On the side we got nothing. On the other side we got nothing. We've got the 8BitDo logo on the bottom. Or when I say logo, it's referencing their ultimate online software that helps you reprogram the buttons and change all the little bits and bobs. On the top we got nothing, and on the back we got some of the bits of information. Got the key features and the things it's compatible with there. Bluetooth there. You know, they don't give a lot away because I think their name speaks for itself. Black edition, slick. Let's open it up and see what's inside. Let's see if all those people online are true, because a lot of people say this is the greatest controller that's ever been created. I'll be the judge of that, and I'll let you know my honest opinions, but we got to see it first. We got to open it up. So first things first, remove that slipcase. Oh, very, very nice. A nice high quality feeling box here. You know, it's coated. It feels, you know, significant. It's none of that cheap stuff. It's not like the normal cheap stuff you get, you know, when you buy third-party devices. It feels nice and solid. Very much reminds me of opening an Apple product in terms of the quality here. Nice little opening action. Immediately we're greeted with an instructions, but this is the type of instructions, you know, I can get behind. Chinese on the back, and we got a little bit of English. You know, I don't mind reading that. They're not taking the mick. There's not like 37 pages of information. All you got to do is download the software and get it working. It's a good sign so far. Plastic protective cover on the front. Stop the dust getting on it. Very nice. Nice attention to detail so far. And it's that time. I'm thoroughly excited. Let's lift this controller out. Ooh. Nice. Just the instantaneous, immediate feeling of holding it. I can tell you what, I think I'm going to like this. I think I'm going to like it a lot. So let's put this to one side and let's have a look what else is inside that box. Yes, I did speak too soon. Here we go, the monster instruction manual. Here we go. Oh, let's have a quick look. Hopefully it's not too bad. There we go. Switch. Oh, not, you know, it is a lot of words, and you know what I think about reading. But to be honest with you, it's not too bad. It's not too bad at all. What else have we got here? We got a micro USB. No, I speak too soon. We got a USB-A to a USB-C cable. You know, from feeling it, yeah, it feels like quite good quality. Oh, and it's branded as well. Even better. No cheap tut here. No cheap tut at all. Nothing else inside the box. So let's put it to one side. Let's get that cable over there. And there's the controller. I think it's time to take a closer look, don't you? Like I already said, the initial thoughts and feeling for the controller, it feels like a quality controller. It's got a little bit of weight to it. It's not too heavy. It's not too light. I think it feels about right. Really nice feeling D-pad. We've got ourselves our star button. I like the way that the analog sticks, they're raised a little bit. They've got, you know, they're not loose at all. They seem quite firm. I like that, but I suppose that's down to personal opinion. We've got the start and select button. Very nostalgic. Reminds me very much of the Super Nintendo controller. We've got a plastic cover on the buttons. Let's remove that. Ooh, look at the shine. Dare I touch them, as I suspect they're fingerprint magnets? No, they're not. Nice. Very nice press. Can you hear that? Quality buttons there. We've got ourselves our other button there. I believe that's the turbo button, but we're having to look at the instructions and stuff to see if that's true. We've got our shoulder buttons up here. Nice press. Ooh, and we've got some nice travel on the trigger buttons. Very, very nice. On the bottom, we've got ourselves our, I don't suppose you can see it there. In fact, actually, let's see, can we turn that on? Oh, some residual charge is always good. That's, I think, in Bluetooth seeking mode, so we can see the 4 light buttons like we would do on a normal Nintendo Switch controller. think if you press and hold the start button, it turns itself off. Yep, there we go. So what does it look like on the back? Real smooth. Not too smooth. It's still got quite a bit of grip to it, so it's not going to fly out your hand or anything like that. But it feels very, very nice. So we've got the back panel here. Let's have a look inside. Lifting that off. Logoed. Quite similar to the plug-in batteries you get for the Xbox One things. Let's see if we can remove that. Oh, stiff. Really, really stiff. But there we go. We've got the battery there that you can see there, rechargeable. 1000 milliamps. Not sure how long that's going to last, but still not bad. And then we've got some information in there. Different modes as well. I think that's really useful. That's really, really nice. So let's try and plug this in. And of course, if you don't like the batteries, you can plug your AA batteries in instead. But what's the point? You've been given one of those for free. You might as well make use of it. So how do we put this in without smashing everything? In there and down, or in, and this is, yeah, not bad. Not bad on camera too. So let's get the panel back on. And let's give you some initial thoughts. Initial thoughts are looking positive. You know, I'm fairly impressed with the build quality. You know, it feels real nice. Will this replace the Nintendo Switch Pro controller? Well, we're going to have to try it and see. I do know the battery in here, it takes 4 hours to charge, so I am going to charge it before I use it. You know, I'm one of those people who like to make sure I treat the batteries, you know, well. You look after the batteries and they'll look after you. 4-hour charge time, can use it for 20 hours, that's a solid length of time. So, you know, I'm not going to give you those, you know, not one of those false reviewers who are just going to get out of the box and go, yeah, it's brilliant, buy it now. I'm actually going to need to use it. So I'm going to charge it up, give it a significant go on the Switch, and I'll report back to you. Well, it'll be instantaneous, won't it? Because it'll be the next part of this video. But I'll let you know my honest review and my honest thoughts right after it's been charged. Boom, it's 2 days later. A cheeky edit in there, of course. Fast forward in time because I wanted to have a proper go with the controller before giving you any of my final thoughts or my impressions here. So first things first, yes, you spotted it. I bought myself a Venom case to keep the dust and all the trash off the controller. I think that's an indication of how much I like the controller. So there it is, the beaut. Let's get it out and let's get it into prime viewing position. So where to start? I've literally got so much to say about the controller. It's all my experiences. I've been through a big learning process with bits and bobs of it. You know, surprised about some of it, but overall the process is very, very simple. Some slight changes, some things I took for granted. The biggest thing I took for granted was the turbo button. I thought it'd be very much like the Hori SplitPad Pro. Check out my old review on that one if you're interested. It does operate differently, but it all involves the software. So first things first, when you've got this controller, you've got to go to the 8BitDo website, go to support and download the ultimate software. They do call it the ultimate software. I'm not sure what it would be if it wasn't the ultimate software, but it pumped me up nonetheless. So bam, downloaded it, installed it with no problems at all. And the first thing it told me to do was to plug that controller in through via the USB to the USB-C, plug it into the computer, bam, recognized, installed, you know, all the drivers and stuff instantly, so it was good to go. Then I was greeted with a firmware update, which I think is always a pleasing thing to see. You know, it's good to see that 8BitDo continuing to support this controller throughout its life cycle. I think the most recent firmware is 4.01, something like that. It installed, it took me through the process, it took only a few seconds. Biggest things I think from reading the patch notes is meant to improve stability, instantaneous connection with the Switch when it's reconnecting, things like that. You know, I do appreciate the support that they're showing. After that, you get to choose which mode you want to edit, which I thought was another nice touch. So you can have a different setup depending if you're going for, I think it was PC, Switch, and then there was another setting, I think it might have been Android. So you can have different setups depending on, you know, what your flavour is. Next, we was greeted with this screen. Yeah, I borrowed this off of Reddit, so you can see roughly what you're greeted with. So they've got the mapping at the top. Obviously, you can remap all the buttons. That was probably a bigger feature before the most recent update on the Switch, because we know that meant we could map our own buttons through the Switch UI. But you know, if you want to do that, that's still important. So big mistakes that I made. I thought that the heart button was the turbo button, but it's not. It maps to the home button. However, you can obviously remap. So the first thing I did is I took the star button, which is over here, and I've remapped that as the turbo button.
I'll talk a little bit more how that worked in a second, but I'll talk you through the other software. So the Kong off at the top, that's the name of the profile. So you can set up different profiles for this particular controller, so you can edit it. So I name mine Turbo because I changed the turbo stuff. So you can change that and have loads of different profiles. All you need to do is connect it back to your PC and resync to change those details. It can all be changed down here. I thought it was quite interesting that the turbo wasn't just fixed to just being a standard turbo. I think you've got turbo, you've got boost, and then you've got auto. Turbo means that you press and hold the button and it'll continually turbo. Boost means you press it and it'll turbo, I think, 3 clicks. And auto means that you press it, it'll just be turbo on forever until you press and hold to remove it from there. Other things on the software, we've got sticks, so you can change the dead zones, the stick sensitivity. Triggers, again, the trigger travel, things like that. Vibrations, obviously you can change how vicious or strong you want the vibrations. And the macro is the key thing here. So you can set up a macro, which is a sequence of controls. A few things that you can't map to a macro, to answer a few questions, is you can't map an analog stick movement. You're going to have to use a D-pad movement. But then, when would you want to do that? I would suspect it's for fighting games, in which case you're probably going to be using the D-pad anyway. I was reading online as well that the most amount of buttons you can have programmed for a single macro is 16. Why on earth you want more than 16 is absolutely beyond me. But I suppose if you want your mega juggle or whatever going on and you beat them up, you know, you might want more than that. Ultimately, my review of the Ultimate software is 2 thumbs up. Really easy to use, no problems, really, really slick. Plenty of information on there. The information guide on the 8BitDo website also helps you with any particular questions you may have on that, but I found it really straightforward. I was also really pleased to see to sync the profiles to the controller was super easy, super quick. I just like it when it works. You know, nobody wants to pay all this money and get a load of buggy software that's a load of trash. No, worked really, really well. So let's finish talking about the turbo. So to get the turbo to work, it's quite different to what it is on the Hori SplitPad Pro. For the Hori SplitPad Pro, you press the turbo button and then you press the button you want to connect to it. Now it's the other way around here. So if I want to make X turbo, for example, I press and hold X and then I press the turbo button. That then starts to highlight blue to show that turbo is activated. From then on in, you press that, or you hold that and the turbo button will be activated. And to get rid of the turbo, you do the same process again, press and hold, press the turbo button, the blue light turns off, it's all done. Do I like the turbo on that? I think it's more complex than the Hori SplitPad Pro because I think that's probably the easiest way of doing it. But I'm not going to complain. It does the job. You know, it's useful in the situations I wanted to use it for. If you're looking for a turbo featured controller, yeah, this one certainly does that for you. So what are my other thoughts of the controller? The vibrate function is very, very different. Obviously, the HD rumble is the pinnacle of rumble and all that. But I do like the rumble in this. It's strong. You can feel it. It's quite old school. It reminds me very much of like a DualShock 2 or DualShock 3. You know, some significant vibration behind it. It's quite nostalgic. And I think ultimately that's, you know, one of the key features this bad boy has. It is nostalgic. You know, it feels nostalgic because of the, you know, the button layout and things like that. It's got nostalgic vibration. Yeah, I like it. Another thing I really, really like, I like the triggers. You know, that travel is excellent. It feels like a significant trigger button. You know, I like that an awful lot. You know what my thoughts on USB-C is. This has got a USB-C, so it's a big thumbs up from there. And overall, you know, I'm very, very pleased. I've decided that I'm going to do a separate video for the 8BitDo and the May Flash, just because I thought it'd be nice to show some gameplay. I could show you a bit of the macros working and a bit of the turbo, so I'm going to leave that for separate videos. I think this video is probably long enough as it is. So I think it's time to bring this review to a close, you know, summarise, bring it all together and give my final thoughts. So what are my final thoughts on the controller? You know, I'm really, really impressed. This is a well-designed, well-considered controller. I don't think there's really an aspect of it that I don't like. I like the plastic that it's made from. It's grippy, it feels comfortable in your hands. It's well-designed grips on there. The stick tension on the analog sticks is perfect for me. It may not be perfect for everybody. You know, if you like a loose analog stick, this might not be for you. The D-pad is excellent. It's probably the best D-pad I've got on any of my Switch controllers. The buttons, they've got the retro feel to them. You know, if you press them, they're going to remind you very much of the Super Nintendo controller, which is a good thing. In terms of the triggers are excellent. I love that it's got an inbuilt but removable lithium-ion battery. That's classic. Connectivity, I've had no issues at all. I think it's been lightning quick. I would go as far to say that it connects to the Switch quicker than the Switch Pro controller. I haven't timed it or anything, but it just genuinely feels that way to me. I like the support that 8BitDo's offering for this controller with the ultimate software. That reassures me that this controller isn't just going to end up on the trash pile within a few weeks. The support's there, the remapping's there, the turbo button's there. I'm going to need to get a bit more used to that turbo button, but I think, I'm going to learn to love it. Macros, I need to play around a little bit more, but that'll be say for a separate video. I know the price of this is about 40 of those great English pounds off Amazon. I know you can buy them other places. I think that's a cracking deal. If you consider the Switch Pro controllers, £50 plus, this is a bargain really at that sort of price. Hopefully that should cover all your, your thoughts, your questions, and summarise everything you need to know. If by any chance, I've missed anything or you've got any other questions, just put them in the comment below. I'm really quick at replying. With that in mind, if you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up. Leave a comment below. I really do appreciate that. I gained another subscriber from my last video. Small steps. It might not seem a lot to you guys, but seriously, each and every subscriber means the world to me. It really, really does. I'm still early on. I'm learning. I'm developing. I'm using my new Mega mic. I'm trying to get a bit more serious about it. So, each and every subscribe says that you actually like what I do, and I do appreciate that. So with that in mind, look after yourselves, look after the people around you, and most of all, stay out of trouble.